Welcome back to the shop. I'm Jason, and today we're back on Project Black Pearl. We're finally addressing that hole in the gas tank. If you remember back to one of my very first videos, what we did was we cleaned up a patch that was on there and we put a new epoxy patch in its place. Well, I had high hopes that it would last, and it didn't. You see, it's starting to seep out the edges, and I knew that eventually it was just gonna fail. And I know that the right way of going about this was replacing the gas tank. But what I didn't want to do is buy a new gas tank. They're ridiculously expensive for this car, new. So I went on eBay. Of course, that's what everybody's gonna do, right? And I searched locally for people that were parting out cars and local junkyards. See, we ran into a couple of problems. 99% of the local junkyards, they wind up drilling a hole in the bottom of the saddle on both sides to drain the tanks on vehicles when they come into the junkyard. And then most of the people with cars that need to be parted out, they're halfway parted out on the ground, and they weren't willing themselves or willing to let me rip apart the bottom of the car, take the drive shaft, the exhaust, and everything out to get the gas tank down. Or they wanted way too much money for a big piece of plastic. Thankfully though, there was a local junkyard that parts out high-end cars that had parted out an M5, and they had really high expectations for their M5 gas tank that goes in every single E39 out there. It's not just an M5 tank. So after watching the listing for the past 3 months or so, it finally came down to a point where I was comfortable purchasing it, and I purchased it, went and picked it up with my little X5. That's basically my shop truck, and here we are today. Now, it looks really nice as it is. It didn't look like that when I bought it. I cleaned everything out, inside, outside, wiped it down thoroughly to make sure that I didn't have any damage that I was going to be dealing with. And of course, if we're going to be dropping the gas tank and swapping out components, what better time than now to replace the fuel pump? All right, so first things first, we got to get our cables disconnected from our parking brake. So we need to pop this trim piece out. There we go. It's easier to get the back first. The front tab slides down and under. Our lock nut is a 9mm. And our actual adjuster is a 12mm. So now we got to get the back seat out. These back seats come out pretty easy. Grab up front and lift, and there's just a little spring latch. Then we're going to slide the seat forward past our seat belts and out of the car. Now we've got access to both sides. It actually looks like somebody may have been in here to do a fuel pump or a sending unit at some point. Go ahead and pull your carpet forward and then lift your insulation. It's going to have a perforated tear point all the way around. And then you'll get access to your fuel hat cover or your fire cover for the interior of the car. On this car, it uses a Phillips screw. Once you got that up, you can access your connector, squeeze and lift. And then this is our return fuel line right here. We're going to be cutting this clamp and pulling this line off. So then this connector here, you slide back and up, and it will release everything for you. And then you have your other feed line here. This is your feed pressure line, I believe. Now this method might seem a little odd, but I don't reuse these connectors, and I don't suggest you do, since they are crimped into place. So I just cut the top straight open with these compound cutters, and then you can use that to take the pressure off, spin the connector a little bit, get it out of the way. All right, so with our hose clamp off, I like to use a pick to try to get in between the hose and the plastic and try to get a little bit of lubricant in there. So now I can spin around, lift, get a little bit more, especially when your lines get old like this. Loosen it up. Then we can pry it back. Really easy. You see how easy that guy came off. And watch for fuel to drip out. So have a hose ready. This side isn't the pressure side, so it's not near as bad as what we'll experience over there. And so we don't get fuel dripping in our face, I'm putting some powder coating, silicone plugs in the fuel lines, help protect our eyeballs a little bit. We're going to do the same thing here at the fuel filler hose. We're going to try to get a pick in underneath, spray a little WD in there, and then run that around the outside. That'll get our line nice and loose, really easy to come off. These rubber lines, when they've sat for a long time, they basically glue themselves together. And you want to do everything you can to protect from ripping these things apart. So to get our exhaust off, a few weeks ago I started lubing up my forward bolts, our studs and nuts here. And then our O2 sensors, we're going to leave in our aftercat O2s and we'll just unplug them at the connector. The brace is really easy to get down. Turns out I'm missing a bolt there, that's a bummer. And then we have one mount here and one mount here. So we'll start out up front, and I've been lubing these, like I said, and I'm gonna start with a hand tool to see if they're gonna break free. And honestly, because I've been lubing these, they're coming apart. And if they weren't gonna start moving quite that easy, the plan was to introduce quite a bit of heat and hopefully break up the rust. But if you know you're going to be doing a job like this, and I've known since the day I found the gas tank leak, start lubing these things up with a penetrant and just let them heat cycle with that penetrant and they'll come off no problem. I've got a jack stand out back already because my camera guy is going to have to help me hold all this in place. Be careful with this center mount. These short studs going up into the body while trying to support the exhaust, they're really easy for you to strip out. All right, go ahead and loosen your jack stand there.
Is that
the other way? There you go. Just nice and slow until it comes down onto my jack stand. Okay, let's go ahead and switch. So at this point, you go to the back.
Okay.
And I'm gonna come off of the headers.
Okay.
And you just don't let it fall on your face.
I got it.
Okay. Okay. Now, I'll take this one out to the side. Now go ahead and lower yours and I'll balance it. Other way, there you go. And let the weight sit on that jack stand, but just balance.
Mine doesn't spin very well.
There's a little more weight back there. All right, are we free back there?
Yeah.
All right, let's switch sides again. You come here. So this right side wants to twist, so you have to hold up the right side here, and then just balance the left. Good job.
Lower this?
No, you're good, you're good.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna lift off of my jack stand. There you go. And then bring it down to a comfortable level.
Okay.
And let's take her back. Good job.
Just watch that. Good save.
Got it.
Oh, I almost tapped my head on the tire. Those things are dangerous.
So the reason they wouldn't come out is because with the handbrake up, this won't make the bend. So I put the handbrake down, these come out no problem now. We'll just stuff them side to side, out of the way here. So our 4 mounting screws or mounting bolts are 5mm Allen heads, 2 for the straps and 2 for the wings on the side. Now I have dropped one of these tanks in the past when I was welding the roll cage main hoop on the M5. It's right up against the face of these gas lines and the face of the gas tank, and I really didn't want to blow up, so I dropped the tank out of it, but it's been a couple of years since then. I don't remember exactly how it all comes apart. So we're guessing our way through this. You can see all the fuel that has been building up and working on this thing for the many numbers of years has been leaking. On our hooks here, you want to make sure that this rubber damper stays on there. And on the front, it's got a rubber bushing as well. Now our tank is completely suspended. And the only thing holding it in place are those little plastic lines that are already broken on my other tank that don't want to break on this one. Uh-oh. And it's clear there's enough fuel in here to be kind of a pain in the butt. I thought that I had run it low enough. My fuel light is on and I've got a 30-mile range, which in my head, at the gas mileage that I'm getting, would be like 3 or 4 gallons. But it sure feels like there's more in here. Okay, by lowering the tank, to see if you can see up there, you can see one of our lines that we're trying to get access to right there. Can't see squat on this side yet. So the last line that we're fighting with is the big one up here that connects to the blue fitting, and it goes through this corrugated line up to the charcoal canister. And it is super duper stuck on there. So you can see we've got it lowered down onto our straps a little bit further. I fought and I fought and I fought with it from up top, but the fitting is so long that hose is just glued on all the way. I'm hoping that from under here, I can get a screwdriver in the fitting a little further. Now maybe I can get our lube all the way in there. Ah, got it.
Yeah.
This was the sucker that was fighting us. We're totally free on that side, right?
Yeah, we're good. We're just lowering onto the strap.
And we got both of these off.
Don't we take the strap off? We're going onto it.
Oh no, it'll come off.
Okay.
Yeah, actually go ahead and pull it up. Let her swing back. There you go.
Ah, safety glasses.
Did they save you?
Yeah, I would have
That's
lost
good.
an eye.
All right, now I'm gonna lift.
I'll move
And then
this
can you
in.
bring the jack forward? Okay.
Those aren't connected.
Oh, good. Now we just got a fresh little baby here. We got to rock her to sleep. Stupid gas tank.
If you rock it too much, it'll come out.
Ah,
the
it's throwing fuel everywhere. Damn it.
I was just saying that too.
So as we start transferring everything over, what I'm using is a pair of flat blade screwdrivers, and I'm using them to anchor against each other here to get our lid lock off. And before I took this off, I always hit it up with WD-40. On the passenger side, you got to disconnect the suction jet line, and then over on the driver's side, we got to pop out the fuel module assembly, or the fuel pump module assembly. Then we're going to transfer these little suction lines out and over into our new tank. And on the pump side, it has to plug into the little pump basket, and the passenger side plugs back in to the top of our housing. That's where it creates that pressure and suction, push fuel back over and into the basket. To prep our fuel pump, we're going to plug in our wires there on the top. There's a big and a little one. You can't mess this up. Zip tie our wires to the hose, and then throw our hose clamp on the hose and squeeze it onto our housing. Sometimes heat helps with this, but this one seemed to go on okay, so I was totally fine with it. I'm using the proper hose clamp crimp tool here to make sure that I'm getting enough torque on it and it's getting fully sealed up. Versus the screw clamps, those ones are designed to go on the outside. As we drop it in, you have to get your fuel pump assembly clicked down in place and then get the sending unit off to the side there. Going back in is pretty much the reverse of how we took it out. However, what I found here was it was much easier to connect all of our lines from the bottom. So we hung it from these straps and got that all put together. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do to test our lines is we're just gonna turn the key on, and camera guy Judah, he is going to throw his hand down there on the housing and see if he can feel it buzzing, which would indicate that likely our fuel pump is running. Then we'll try to start it. Of course, we'll start it without exhaust because you have to do that. All right, so I can't see the lines. Scream at me if fuel's coming out.
Okay. I feel it.
You feel it buzzing?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Only for a second. Now it's stopped.
Yep, it primes just for a second.
Yep.
I'll prime again.
Yep. I feel
Okay.
it gone. Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna take big shots off of my car when I get one.
No leaks. Gas gauge work says I got 65-mile range. That's a little louder than the M5.
Yeah. I want to hear the M5 without exhaust.
You were too young. I started it open
Whoa.
header when I put the long tube headers
Oh,
on
I
it.
want to hear that.
I need to get a V8 with no exhaust.
That sounded cool.
With our leak test complete, we got the parking brake cables, drive shaft, splash panel, wheel, tire, everything back in place. Got a little bit of fuel that I had on hand, plus the fuel out of the gas tank. That way we can get this thing over to the gas station to do a full tank leak test. Well, we went to the gas station, and I didn't film any of it because it was pretty busy, but we got a full tank of gas in there, and I put about 100 miles on the car, and got it up on the air. There are no traces of any leaks underneath, which is golden. So we can mark off a number of different things on our list. With the gas tank, I had my tank leak and I left that in blue because I was like, I know I'm gonna have to do this later. So finally, we've got the tank situation taken care of. While I had the car in the shop, I also addressed a number of other concerns. On the outside here, I replaced the kidney grills, my right mirror cap, which was held on by electrical tape. And in my center console, I replaced the center pin holder trim and handle because they were falling apart. So I can mark those guys off. Trim, we got the grill, we got the mirror cap, those guys off of the list. All told, the tank was $244.11. Adding in the pump and the filter, bunch of stuff there was $209.85. When I say filter, I mean the filter that's attached to the pump. I had already replaced the fuel filter previously, and then I had to order this new one because of the leak. Kidney grills were $22.56. They're actually really nice for that price. The mirror cap was $23.90 painted, and the center console trim was $14.19 and $21.29 respectively, for a grand total of $9,586.61. We've got a bunch more to go on the car. I've got a whole bench top worth of black interior trim parts to go with my black sunroof, or not my black sunroof, but my black headliner out of an M Sport. Plus we have a rebuild kit here for all of the sunroof parts. So we're gonna pull the cassette out, we'll lay it out here on the workbench, and we'll get that guy completely refurbed and ready to rock and roll for here, fall and winter, when you actually wanna open things up, because it's way too damn hot in the summer. I hope you've enjoyed watching me sweat and deal with this ridiculous amount of work on this car. I'll catch you in the next one.